All right. Good morning, everyone. Brad Roltgen here with the Fresno Bitcoin and Cryptocurrency Investors Group. Today, we are talking about NFTs and if there's something that we should potentially invest in. Is it a speculation kind of space, that kind of thing? But before I jump into it, I just want to plug next month's meeting, which is the beginning of April. We've got a special guest going to join us and actually talk about the process he goes through to evaluate tokens and projects and that kind of thing. You know, within this group, in the past, we haven't gotten into really recommending tokens or coins, and that's one area that I've stayed away from. Is I'm looking at more the mechanics of how to do the processes. But I met this gentleman a few weeks ago, and we were kind of in the same similar space thought process, but he's comes more from a financial background, and shared about how he evaluates projects and that kind of thing. So I thought it'd be good to hear from him. So put that on your calendar for next month. It's already up on the meetup page. You can RSVP and then you get the reminders and all that good stuff. So, all right, let's get into it. So hopefully everybody looked at the little paragraph here that I borrowed from Wikipedia that talks about what a NFT is. And so just a real simple example I use is, it's basically the fungible versus the non-fungible. So if we think of, a dollar bill is fungible because it doesn't matter which dollar bill we have, they all spend the same, that type of thing. I could swap one with Walter, and whether I have his $1 bill or my $1 bill, they're going to spend the same. But when we get into the non-fungibility, that's when we look at each specific dollar bill separately, where if we looked at the serial numbers on the dollar bills, they all have a different serial number, and we know that they're there, but we don't really care. But if we cared about the serial numbers, and Walter had a serial number with 3 ones in a row on it, and mine had all random numbers, maybe his would be more valuable. And so that's what we're talking about as something that's non-fungible, because we make a differentiation between the two dollar bills in this example, or with the NFTs, it's that one token is different than the other. So let me just show. Let me switch over here to my profile on OpenSea, which is a marketplace for NFTs. And so some of you guys might know me as Larry Laguna, as my username on a lot of online platforms. So these are 2 of the mixed martial arts NFTs. And so these are the 2 that I have. And as you can see, there's a number next to each of them. And then obviously they look a little different. And in this case, they differentiated these little guys by, do they have a hat? Do they have, an earring? What kind of weapon are they holding? Do they have sunglasses or a mustache or these kinds of things? So that's what made each of them different. For this set of NFTs, there's about 4,000 of them. And there's some that only have, maybe only 7 of them have swords, but there's 50 of them that have hats on, that type of thing. And then you get all the different combinations. So there might be a real rare one that has a combination of a hat, sunglasses, a mustache, and a sword. So that one becomes more valuable because it's rare and that kind of thing. Now, to me, it's rare. It's like a baseball card is, so that's kind of how they work, and, what makes them different within each set. Just to kind of, just so you have that aspect of it. Anybody have anything to add in that part of it? I know some of us have been into the NFTs already, but feel free to jump in any other differences that you guys have seen.
I have one quick question regarding that.
Mm-hmm.
If I can, it seems like a lot of the NFTs are kind of speculative, and the way you're describing it is like a baseball card that has value that can be created based on how rare it is and whatnot. The thing that I've looked at and I have questions about is like an artist just released his album as an NFT, released like 1 million copies. And then those are the only copies of his album you can get. So if you want that album, you have to get it from somebody that already owns it. are we going to see some more where it's not so much speculative, but there's actually some value in what they're holding, or they can use it in maybe a real world?
That's a good point, and I kind of have the same question. Um, so that's interesting. Okay, so there's a million of the albums, and so that's, in that case, it was a full album, like 8, 10, 12 songs type of thing.
Yeah, and he was the first to
Okay.
do it. And they sold out like in an hour. It was really fast, maybe less than that. So that if anybody who wants his album now has to get it from somebody who already owns it, which how good the album is or how popular it is going to determine the value of it. And then every time it changes hands, the artist will make a small percentage of that transaction, which I thought was great. It keeps the money in the artist's hands. But that's where I really started seeing the value of NFTs, and not so much just like the trading card aspect of it, but where there's something that somebody's going to be able to really get out of it in the real world.
Right. Even in that case, it's a digital space, but obviously, that's how we consume our music now, as opposed to if there were a million records or CDs pressed or printed or whatever you want to call it, the same type of thing. So that's interesting. And I've heard that model where, in the artist space as well, where each time it changes hands, it a little bit goes back to the creator of that. So I think that's a good way to do it, just so they're earning a little bit as it goes, as opposed to, I sell my CD to you, and you give me $10 for it or whatever, but the artist doesn't get anything. So I think that's a good model. The other interesting aspect to that, and this was on more the art, is they had it where each time it traded hands, the art would actually degrade a little bit. And I don't know if that meant, the resolution went down, or maybe it lost a couple pixels here and there, kind of like getting worn maybe. But I thought that was an interesting aspect of it as well. So if you had one that traded hands 10 times versus one that only traded hands once, obviously the 10 times would be more degraded, whatever that means or looks like, type of thing. So I thought that was interesting from a technology aspect of being able to, program that into each one. So yeah, great question.
I have a question. My
Yeah,
name's Alex.
go ahead, Alex.
Um, I'm always wrestling with the concept of NFTs in terms of physical objects versus digital objects, and combinations of the physical object with the digital representation of it. And I can't help but think about Mona Lisa. Okay, there's one in the Louvre in Paris, France. I think the only one in existence. And so if somebody makes, takes a picture of the painting, can they make an NFT out of it, or how does that all work?
I guess they could try. I mean, with this OpenSea, you can actually launch your own NFTs, very easily. And, I saw something where, I don't know if somebody like took pictures at an event or something like that that was unique. They say if they were at a concert and they were in the third row and they had this, picture of the singer and the band or whatever. Obviously, that was, from a unique perspective and position, and maybe they took 10 shots throughout the concert, and they could, put those out as an NFT or something. I don't know if that would break copyrights or something from the concert promoters or the artists, that kind of thing. But, I mean, compared to these drawings, because like what I've got up on the screen here is these are just, digital artwork,
Yeah,
type
digital
of thing.
artwork. But
So
when you take a physical object and turn it into a digital object, and when it comes to real estate, that's where I really have um, uh, difficulty in comprehending, because people are talking about components of various buildings being their own individual NFTs, and how how minuscule can you go?
Yeah, and it seems like, we hear the term tokenization, and I know, Walter, I know you mentioned that, and it's like, I could see real estate where you normally have a title and you've got, one person on title, or, four people or whatever. So if you turn that, but obviously the real estate does, that lot and that house or that commercial building or whatever still stays there. But I can see that, understand the tokenization of that, where now instead of having that title and a deed recorded, like we've done for 150 years, now we're
Right.
recording that deed on the blockchain. And, if you want to sell me your tenth of a ownership, or a 10% ownership to me, we can do it for 20 ETH or whatever amount, real easily, and it's recorded on the blockchain. But some of these others, to tokenize, like you said, a physical something with a digital, like the picture of the Mona Lisa, well, you could take the picture and you could do your NFTs of it. Then I could go there an hour later and do the same thing. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a breakdown, or that part of it doesn't make sense, part of it does. And, maybe somebody just wants to be the first one to own an NFT of the Mona Lisa, so they'll pay $1,000 for it or something like that. Where to me, I'd like, who cares? Because it's not that, that kind of thing. So is that kind of where you're coming from? Like, trying to find out where the value is?
Yes, and what the value is in transferring it to someone else, and why they would take it. What would be the purpose of them having it, hoping that it keeps going up, and like anything else. But also, if you say you buy a piece of real estate for 40 ETH, and then the value of ETH goes down dramatically, does that mean that your real estate also is worth a lot less?
Well, potentially, yeah. If it never, if there's not a sale, like, if I buy 10% of the property for 10 ETH from you, and then the value of the ETH changes, but we don't really know unless there's another transaction. Like the next person comes along and buys another 10%, maybe for 20 ETH, because they, the value of the ETH has gone down or something like that. So, hey, Walter, yeah, go ahead, Walter, just unmute and jump in here.
Yeah, sure. So I think there's, when it comes to tokenization of assets, I think they've already started doing some of that. I think like with stock, like with Amazon, it's expensive. So they started there. I think there are, like through DAOs or things like that, I think they use some sort of variation. And in those cases, my understanding is that it's more actually tied to the asset itself, versus I think NFTs are more in the case of art. I think they're different categories, right? Like tokens there's different categories, right? There's DeFi and money and all that, right? So in this case, I think for NFTs, there's those for assets, and then these are for scarcity in art. And so for the scarcity in art, you're more tied to scarcity, and so part of it is actually the signature of the NFT. It's a unique, right? It's non-fungible, right? It's a unique signature. It's that the same way a Bitcoin is, you have a unique hash, right? That has for the Bitcoin on the ledger. You're also kind of committing, it's a scarcity of that. So when an artist signs it, like at Sotheby's, right? When what Beeples does that auction and they sell like $1 million or whatever it is, it's the scarcity of the signature. And then there's also been cases where there's tied to real art, and Sotheby's is doing it. They have like now dedicated kind of I guess showings to them and exhibits. And then in some cases too, they'll actually, I think there've been cases where they give the buyer an option. Do you want the real art, or do you want the virtual NFT version? And if you want the real one, they'll burn the token, things like that, right? So they're experimenting, but the whole notion is the scarcity. So if you're doing, it's the signature, and then whatever it is it's tied to, but it's probably a little bit different from the asset. So anyway, back to you, Brad.
Yeah, and there was something else I saw where I think this was on a like a Rolex or similar watches, where you got an NFT along with the watch, and then that proved like a chain of ownership that it was a real Rolex type of thing. And so the thought was that, 5 years from now, if you go to a pawn shop or some, similar resale kind of store, that if it didn't come with that NFT, with the matching serial number for that watch, it's like, well, hey, maybe this is a fake. So that was a way to prove that that was a real Rolex versus, a knockoff that didn't have that NFT. And you could prove that NFT because it went all the way back. The chain went all the way back to, that when that watch came out in 1992 or whenever, that model or series or whatever was made. I don't know. Well, I don't know anything about Rolexes, so I'm just kind of making that up. But however that worked, the idea was, almost instead of a warranty card, you're going to get an NFT to kind of prove, that that's a real item, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of real world examples that we can use these. But since we're talking about the speculating a little bit, I found this article interesting
real quick,
here.
I think also going back, I think part of the tokenization too of assets is it's twofold. Is you can fractionalize, so like with things that are very expensive. The other is the settlement, and that goes back to DeFi, right? So in the case of stock, if you're doing a stock that's fractionalized, you don't have to do the 2-day settlement that most brokerages have to do. So
right.
Also the fees, and then like with real estate, you could fractionalize, and also it's the escrow, right? You no longer have a whole, you're decentralizing it, right? So in that way, there's also that part of assets. And I think that was going earlier to why, it's a very interesting space. It's still super early days, right? I mean, these are like, don't even mention the regulation, but have they even worked all the technologies out yet, right? And how do you do all this? So I think there's startups in this space. I think Paxos is getting interested in it. So I think there's some real world use cases. So back to you.
Yeah, good. And before I forget, we've got this Google Doc that we're sharing, like we do with most of the meetings. If you guys saw that link here on the event page, right down here, you guys can jump over that there, click on the request edit access in the upper right corner, and I'll give you access to add info there throughout the meeting. And I pasted in the link to OpenSea already, so feel free to jump in there and do that, and I'll try to remember to click off and give you access. So if you've done that and haven't got access, let me know and remind me there. So anyway, back to this one I saw on it was on Google, talking about the Google searches. Here they're talking about reveals no one cares about the metaverse or NFTs. It's one of those attention grabbing headlines, but they're talking about the chart here about how this searching for the term NFT has gone down since the beginning of the year. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of this stuff, deals with the marketing and what's going on in the news and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I wasn't following what was going on back in, November, December, maybe what was pushing the NFTs. I mean, I follow the crypto news more than the regular, news, and obviously was hearing more and more. So maybe there was some other things going on in kind of regular media that were talking about that. But I thought that was interesting. While probably all of us are thinking that, NFT is growing and growing, maybe the interest has dropped off a little bit from the general public, or maybe they just, this rise here on the graph was due to people just like, well, what the heck, what does that mean, type of thing. So any thoughts on that as far as what you guys have seen, maybe real world, or if you've used like OpenSea at all and looked at the statistics and activities and that kind of thing? I haven't looked too much. I don't know if they've got a graph of the activity, month to month or that kind of thing.
Hey, Brad.
Yeah.
My nickel is that NFTs are just, you can understand the basic concept, but I think people find Bitcoin confusing and perplexing. NFTs are even so much more because there's the, you know, at least Bitcoin has 21 million forever. That's it. And it is Bitcoin. It is at the top of the heap. And we know where, you know, where it comes from and we know what it's about. NFTs are all over the board. How do you know when you get, you know, I get an email from Nifty, right? So when an NFT comes out, you know, how do you know what it's worth? Where is it from? Who are the people that are doing it? I mean, there are not even any names unless you are in deep in the NFT ecosystem. Even folks like us who probably know a decent amount about cryptocurrency don't really know that much about NFTs. But unless you're in the depths of that, the average bear, I haven't talked to one person in my personal universe of humans that I'm around that has ever even heard of the term NFT. Okay. And I get people go, oh yeah, I've heard of Bitcoin, or once in a while I'll find somebody who's actually into it around here. But there isn't anybody that I know that knows anything about NFTs other than, yeah, that guy bought that one for $64 million. And even that is a very rare return. So, meaning, you know, response. So the fact that it's gone down so much on the search engines only elaborates my point that people just don't know what it is. It's very confusing. And, you know, unless you happen to get into one, and, you know, it's like throwing a dart at a stock and it happens to have fantastic earnings or it gets bought out the next day. I just don't know where to go with this. I mean, that's why I'm here today, because I'd be interested in these, but I just find that in my world and other people that I talk to, I'm a sales and marketing guy, so I talk to a lot of people. Nobody knows anything about NFTs, let alone what to do with them if they can even figure out which one to buy.
Right. And somebody mentioned earlier, you know, hundreds and thousands of different NFT projects out there, you know, just like the tokens. And so, you know, just like a lot of these tokens, they can come out, but if they're not marketed and nobody uses them, they're basically, you know, it's like the billboard in the desert, you know, 50 miles outside of Vegas. It's like nobody cares, nobody sees it, that kind of thing. So yeah, the one aspect that has given me a little more interest in them is kind of the like the group or the membership aspect, where if you hold, you know, an NFT as a part of a group like the one I showed earlier, there's like 4,000 of them. And so there was talk that, okay, if you hold one of these, then you're going to get access to maybe a, you know, a live event or certain content or something like that. And to me, I see more value in that than just whether, you know, my guy that I'm holding has a beard or not, or, you know, has a yellow earring or whatever this thing is on the side here, kind of thing, because I really don't care about the image. But maybe if I get access to something that nobody else does because I'm a holder of this, maybe that's another token project where I get in early, you know, like a pre-sale or a pre-IPO type of a thing.
That's the stuff that I was talking about with the real world application is exactly what you're talking about. Like with the Rolex, if you're invited to exclusive events, or, you know, if a restaurant sells an NFT and you're invited to special parties or whatever, that's where I think you really start seeing the value in holding an NFT, where it's not just speculative and rare, but there actually comes with some benefits of being an owner of either fractional, like was mentioned, or a whole owner gives you certain benefits.
Yeah, and some of that, like this, being invited, you know, to a special event or early, you could do that with a regular token as well. Like there was one, I was part of a launch where you had to have at least like $25 worth of token X to be able to buy token Y 2 days before it went to the public, type of thing. So, you know, that's already been out there without having to do an NFT. Now, they you know, you could do the same thing with an NFT, and maybe you say, okay, if you were one of the first 100 holders of the NFT, then you get to get into this token project 4 days earlier. But if you were between 101 and 500 of the NFT, then you got in 3 days before or something like that. And sure, maybe like the restaurant idea, that's interesting. Maybe you could do a, like a drawing. Okay, every month we do a drawing for an NFT holder and they get a free lunch or a free party in the party room or whatever, that kind of thing. So yeah, and that, to me, that makes more sense than just the art. And I'm wondering if a restaurant did that, would there be some art representation, or would it just be their logo on every one of them? Or would there have to be a different image to go with it? Because if they're looking at their number, just like I've got the, there's the number on each of mine, you could have the same thing with that restaurant. You could have their logo and then, your member number 101 and I'm member 102 or whatever kind of thing. So yeah, that makes sense there. And it's almost like the equivalent of if they gave out like those little things you used to put on your keychain and it, you were part of the grocery store Vaughn's club or, whatever like that type of thing. So yeah, that's a good example. If you guys,
Brett,
go ahead.
What he was just talking about, and what you guys have talked about, is similar to what credit card companies do now. Like I have American Express or a Visa card, and you get ahead of, Vince Gill's coming to town, and so
Right.
you get into the pre-sale of it. It just seems that concept is already out there, but to add it to an NFT, it's so much more complicated. It's like I said, how many people know about that? You're going to have a very small group of people who understand why that NFT is important for that particular restaurant, right? You might have, out of a group of 100 people, you might have 2 or 3 people who really understand what the heck's going on, right? And so I'm just trying to understand these concepts a little bit better. I understand, how they can be used, but how are they actually applied? How do people know about them? How do people, access them on their phones? Because that's where a lot of this stuff gets accessed these days.
Mm-hmm.
You get a ticket to go to a concert, it's on your phone. You don't even get to have a ticket that you can use later, like you used to.
Right, so it's just a barcode.
It's just a barcode, right? And so, what I'm just saying is that, why does it have to be an NFT for something like that? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I'm with you. Yeah. Your example of the American Express holding that would be the equivalent of holding Litecoin. Okay, if you hold Litecoin, you can, but it doesn't have to be Litecoin number 203 or 207 or whatever. You just hold Litecoin and you get in. So yeah, obviously we're really early in the space, but is that good? Is there an opportunity for us to buy something for $1 that's going to be worth $50,000 someday? Maybe, but which one? Kind of thing. Now, these, just to give you a little background, I know some of the people on the call are familiar with the Meta or the Mixed Martial Art Club and these Meta Martian guys, but they tied up with the Mixed Martial Arts Club has a game that's like one of these metaverse games, and then they've tied in with some guys in Hollywood that are going to be coming out with a movie later in the year, and it's about the metaverse and that type of thing, and the game is going to be featured in the movie. So I think my speculation and others are like, okay, well, and part of that game is using these creatures or Martians or whatever we call them in the game. So maybe, the game gets all the publicity from the movie, and then people are scrambling to get one of these NFTs to play the game, or they've talked about the ability to rent your character to somebody to play the game. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if there's only 4,000 of these, that's not many players in a game these days. I mean, a lot of games have, hundreds of thousands or even millions of players. So how are you going to, it's almost like, who cares about a game if there's 4,000 players? But they said, no, maybe there's a way to rent your character to multiple people. And the idea is, as they earn things in the game, maybe you earn 10% of what they earn, or they pay you a monthly fee, like $5 a month to use your character or something. So who knows? But that's kind of what these are supposedly for. so there's that real world use, obviously in a digital environment. But that's kind of the background for these. And, I used to be in the video game business very heavily, but I'm not a gamer myself. And so, don't follow all the different things that are going on. But it seems like a lot of the what I do read about the gamers space, some of them and a lot of them are kind of anti-crypto, anti-NFT. So I find that to be interesting. If we're almost developing a, kind of a pro crypto game space, and then some of the existing gamers are kind of anti-crypto. Are any of you guys gamers and have used these in games at all? Yeah, not too much. Because I think the other part is when it comes to currency or monetary units in games, it seems to me that the publishers of the games want to hold more of that power. Because if they're, if you had to spend $10 to buy some, weapon or shield for your character, and you had to pay $10, well, you've got to pay it to them on a credit card, and they get $10 in their bank account. If you could use crypto to do that, that stays in the crypto universe, and the maker of the game or the publisher, isn't getting a piece of that kind of thing. So it almost seems like there's not much motivation for them to involve crypto in the gaming because they lose some control. So I'm not sure there. So let's see, I had another article here on and it looks like it was almost quoting that first one, where that similar graph, worldwide search fell off a cliff. Yeah, comment about 2017. Didn't mean to go to Twitter here. And going back to that, so I think, like we talked about, maybe people were just, heard NFT the first time they searched for it, and like Michael mentioned, like, this is so confusing, I'm not getting involved, I don't even know what they're talking about. But they did search for 5 minutes, and so it showed up in the Google specs. I saw this, and now that I know what OpenSea is, here in the last couple months, they did an upgrade to their platform, and it revealed a security flaw, and some people lost their NFTs that way. I've heard things about where people thought they were going to sell their NFTs for 3 or 4 ETH, and they ended up going for like 0.2 of an ETH or something like that, because there was some kind of a hack. So obviously there's a need for improved marketplaces and that kind of thing. The other one that I thought interesting, this SEC article, and just like they're talking about it, ICO, like, this goes back to the 2017, when there was just the fury of ICOs coming out every which way, but Sunday also on the Ethereum platform, just like a lot of the NFTs are. So they're looking at these marketplace over these projects that are coming out, and seeing if people are, the way that they're issuing these NFTs is if they're being utilized like securities, which then the SEC gets involved, and blah, 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 all that. So that I found that to be interesting, and almost mirroring, like it talks about the ICOs of the 2017. Have you guys seen any specific NFT projects that were just, outright, scams, that, they launched them and then 3 days later the thing fell apart? You guys, I know they've got to be out there. Go ahead, Brian.
I haven't seen anything like that, but I come from an investment background. I've been securities licensed for about 25 years, and so that was one of my questions: is the regulations. It is kind of like the Wild West, and with altcoins and Bitcoin and NFTs and things like that. I wonder about the regulations that are going to come in as people start using them to trade and things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, when they're, sometimes they put these out just to raise funds for a project, type of thing. And I mean, that's where they get into trouble is with the security laws, right? Because it's like you're trying to raise fund like an IPO.
Especially considering seniors and things like that. How are they going to monitor that?
Yeah. is there a different way, from the security laws perspective, that they could issue NFTs where they weren't considered securities?
I guess it just deems what they consider an investment.
Okay.
That definition could change.
Yeah. Because going back, it's been so long since, the ICOs were just a rage, I don't know, for a year and a half. And now we don't even hear about them anymore. But on those, was it more they were considered securities if there was like a pre-sale for them, as opposed to if they just launched them on an exchange type of thing? Was that the differentiation back in the day?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to see, compare that to where we are now. Because I know I bought Theta early on, and, it was out and you could buy it. And, when people did, and at some point they said, okay, we're going to do an ICO. And I guess the people that had bought in early, whatever that meant, but before that ICO decision happened, they said, no, we don't want to do an ICO and be considered a security, because they didn't want to deal with those potential issues. Because back then it was a big question mark type of things. But I believe at that point, they were already trading on an exchange. So maybe they just released a small amount. So I'm not sure on that. Okay. I was just trying to kind of compare the two to see if there's something we should watch out for, that some NFTs might be considered security where others weren't. But if the theory is that you're buying that security, it's almost like they're just, selling you an asset. Just like if Ford said, okay, we're going to sell, 2,000 special Mustangs, and they've got a serial number and a special, number on them to signify, each one is obviously more than the VIN as well. So, okay, good.
Brad?
Yeah.
So the ICO guys got in trouble because they were selling it with giving the expectation that people would profit. And this is the same problem that's happening with things like DAOs. So if your DAO is to be a club, then it's not considered a security. And if your DAO is intended to make money, then you're considered a security. So this is the same problem with ICOs. This is why XRP got in trouble. And the lack of regulatory clarity back then is part of why everybody's arguing about it.
Yeah. And I don't think it ever really got settled. It seemed like it just kind of went away because people tried to avoid that, that line and stay away from that line. Did you see anything get settled specifically?
Well, this is what the XRP lawsuit is about, is getting some regulatory clarity about how this is and whether or not they're securities. And I think there's a lot to be known there, and the government really doesn't understand yet. So until they get a better handle on what crypto is, they're going to make poor decisions based on a law from the 1930s.
Right. Yeah. And they're going to be continually behind as crypto evolves, obviously quicker than they do. On the DAOs, so is the differentiation that you listed, was that more based on just what their white paper talks about, as opposed to any specific, way they set up?
Well, one of the ways they get in trouble is if the DAO tokens are traded for profit as opposed to traded for governance or something else. And one of the ways that Rug Radio got around that was they don't create any trading mechanism. Any trading mechanism occurs outside through a third party providing a liquidity pool for trades. And that way they're not associated with any change in the value of that asset.
Okay. Because now, the whole point of the DAOs was the governance, which they all should be doing that, right?
It's more than governance, and they don't all do governance. They represent an ownership stake in a decentralized organization in most cases, and some do give governance authority and some don't. Like Aave has both coins for liquidity and stuff like that, but then they also have coins for governance. So
it's two separate ones. Okay.
When you get into DAOs, it's really easy to get into trouble and start having tax problems or responsibilities that one of the challenges of a DAO is that people are not necessarily doxed. So if you're pseudonymous and you're in a DAO, and then the tax bill comes and you run away and you sell your DAO token, or you just hide it, don't say anything, and I can't find you, then the tax man's going to go after the guy they can find. And so when they find you and you're one member of 100 people in a DAO and you're the only one they find, they're going to tell you that you owe the taxes for the DAO because you're the only one they can find.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
That's a
Yeah,
huge problem, especially if you don't know who else is in the organization, because how are you going to finger them and make them pay?
right, right. Okay, let's get back to the NFT part of it. But I know, yeah, that's a whole nother story too. Now I know you've got at least a handful of NFTs. Why did you choose the ones you did, type of thing?
Some of them I chose for speculation because I feel like the project will go up in value, and some of them I got because I believe in the project and I want to be part of the community.
Okay, so you kind of looked as buying the NFT as buying into a membership type of
Absolutely. I bought membership in Rug Radio because I believe that in the end it will be very good for me, and that eventually there will be a profit to be made from the development of this platform.
Okay, what's the URL for that one? I'll pull it up. It sounds like maybe you're driving, but I can pull that up on the screen and maybe we can share that with others here.
Yes, I am driving. Our meeting just ended. Rug.fm is the base site, and they're about to release a new website the next week or two. So that's kind of a placeholder for where they're going, but that'll get you to them. They're primarily found on Twitter and Discord.
Okay, okay. And so you joined these guys because of what you believed that they were doing in the future, and you just kind of wanted to get in early, type of thing.
Yeah, I want ownership. I'm working towards ownership of Rug Radio, and I have enough to be a member once they open DAO membership. So right now they're working to educate people about the ecosystem and about DAOs and tokens. And when they're done with that, then there'll be the ability to trade in some of our Rug tokens for Rug DAO tokens, which would give us partial ownership of the platform. And the platform is essentially a decentralized media platform, and their goal is to become the worldwide CBS of Web3.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. Okay. So if people wanted to join in, it looks like they're going to buy on OpenSea type of thing at this point.
So if you want to participate and earn from participating, you need a membership pass. There are 20,000 membership passes, and they're currently going for, I don't know, something or less than a quarter of an ETH. And then the Genesis NFT is one that actually emits tokens on a daily basis that you can claim whenever you choose to from their platform. So a standard Rug Radio Genesis NFT yields 5 Rug tokens a day, and then the scarce ones release 7 and the rares release 11 per day to the owner of the NFT.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, I got 2 of the same ones.
It's a very broad ecosystem, but you don't have to know anything to get involved, and you can learn from them by going to their YouTube or their recorded Twitter spaces and listening to them explaining how it works and what it will do in the future.
Okay, great. So yeah, I on their website, there's links to both the Genesis NFT as well as that membership pass. So I kind of sharing those on the screen for everyone and the recording, so we can obviously go there later and purchase. Yeah, it looks like the membership passes are about 0.09 ETH currently. So yeah, so we could buy those there, type of thing. Got it. Okay.
So those can be used. The education that's going on right now will yield tokens if you have one of those and you sign up. They give a link for how to sign in to say, this is my wallet and I want to participate. And in a couple of weeks, they're going to have a test. You pass the test, they give you a payout.
Got it. Okay. And I see links to Discord as well as Twitter. Obviously, a lot of crypto discussion happens on Twitter, but it seems like more of the NFT discussions are happening in Discord channels. Is that kind of what you found as well?
Well, what I'm finding is the activity of the people interacting as a community is happening on places like Discord or Medium or Slack, and the interaction on a more personal level and the alpha that they're releasing and whatnot is coming through Twitter. So the people are like native to Twitter. That's something they're comfortable with. I'm kind of new to that. And Discord is not something I really like. It's a little hard to follow the flow and whatnot. But Discord, there's a lot of information and a lot more interactive capabilities. And the Twitter is more like you're yelling out to the world, and who's listening gets to respond to you.
Right, right. Yeah, and I always thought Twitter, where I've never been that excited about Twitter, just because it seems like there's a lot of talking, and I don't know how much listening is going on there, but that's a different discussion.
I didn't want to get on Twitter. I had a Twitter account more than 10 years ago, and I never tweeted. I never had anything I felt like I wanted to tell the world. But I got back to Twitter when I found out that if I really wanted to be involved in NFTs or know more about the native people in the crypto world, that I was going to have to get closer to it. And the way to get closer to it is to start hearing what's coming out of their mouth. And they're putting it out of their mouth on Twitter. So it's an opportunity to start finding out who's connected. And that's one of the key things that is a challenge in Twitter. Twitter is just like Facebook. It just gives you a feed. And the feed that comes is only the things that you choose to follow. So if you're not following the people that are saying the things that you want, you're not getting the information. It's kind of a club deal. So what I started doing was I started gathering up the people that I knew were legit and adding them to my followers, to my following, so that my feed would start coming up with what they have to say.
Right, right. And yeah, obviously, yeah, good. Okay. Any other NFTs that you've gotten into, or, you know, you mentioned speculation. Is it, you know, are you talking about just like some collectible group of NFTs?
Yeah, I've gotten a couple of things that are not necessarily in a bigger community or anything like that. Like I got Astromojis. I bought an Astromoji. I think they're like 0.07 ETH or something like that. Astromojis is working towards help for people, psychological support or you know, basically support for your head in the Twitter, in the crypto space. And so I wanted to support that. And I got into Super Yetis, which Super Yetis are still at the floor. If and when they do take off, they're right now, I think they sell for about 0.05. So that's a couple of the ones that I got into because I feel like in the future they either have a good use or they'll go up in value. Just a couple examples, you know.
Okay. So obviously those are ones that are tied to projects and actual functions and services kind of thing, as opposed to just the baseball card that, you know, you just wanted to be the guy that owned, you know, that one type of thing from a collectability standpoint.
Yeah. I got my troll for a picture. I don't expect that to go anywhere, but it was just a good profile picture to use, and it wasn't super expensive or anything. I don't think that one will do anything. I just liked it.
Yeah. Okay.
Most people say that if you like the art, then buy for the art, and if it goes up in value, then that just is a win for you. And that's really a good way to look at NFTs, because they're not just pictures. They do everything. Their video, their music, their access control, their member passes. There's so many different things that an NFT can be.
Right. Yeah. We talked about the membership aspect a little bit. Okay, good. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the input there, Scott. Gabe has posted in the chat about verge.com. Gabe, I'm going to pull that up, and Gabe, if you want to jump in and talk a little bit about that or what's going on there.
Yeah, as we're talking, good talking points on NFTs. This gives you a overall view of what an NFT is, but it's not well defined, because you could have two aspects. One is tangible art and the other one is digital. One you could feel and touch, and the other one is only visionary. So if you could take a look at that on the reading, where the Mona Lisa, for example, was sold for millions of dollars, and people sold for 60 million, right?
Yeah, hold on just a second. I want to make sure I'm on the right site. The first one looks like they were selling verge.com. Is it theverge.com?
Yeah, theverge.com. Right.
Okay. So I'm pulling, this looks like an is it more of a news aggregator site?
No,
Uh,
it's, yeah, because I pulled it up.
Can you see my screen? Am I on the right spot?
No, you're not.
Okay. Where do I need to go? What's is it the verge like .io or dot something else?
I just said the
Yeah, it
Verge.
says Verge, not the. It just says verge.com.
That's what he had. And then I got this that is looking to make an offer, like that, you know, they're selling the web. Somebody is selling this domain.
No, because it. Let me just go back and try to find it.
Yeah, maybe paste it. Go onto your screen and just copy the URL and paste it right into the chat. Or if anybody else knows what it is, let me know or paste it to chat too. Might be one of the, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't seem to find it. Lost it. So many apps here, so kind of bear with me. If not, you just go and continue on there, Brad.
Okay, that's what. Okay. Thanks, Allegra. This is still doesn't sound like it's the right one. Okay, well, maybe we'll forget it. Just tell us a little more about it, Gabe, and we'll hopefully get the URL a little bit, and I'll put in that Google Doc.
Yeah, it just gives you a brief history of what the other members were talking about on your talk show. It's really no clarity on NFTs because it's all over the board, because it's really on the digital aspect of it. You could turn NFT into anything on the digital, so which is quite interesting. So like you mentioned, baseball cards, you could take a photo of the Mona Lisa, you could take a photo of just about anything as digital art and create it as an NFT.
Right. Yeah, you know, last month when I think we actually had a couple artists on that were looking to do this themselves. Are any of them back? Are you guys talking about, you know, interested in doing this for your own creation of an NFT? Oh, hey, there we go. Thanks, Michael. Let me pull that up here. I think this is what we're talking about. Gabe, can you see this? It looks like this is a specific article. Maybe this is what you're looking at.
Correct, that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I'll post this in the Google Doc as well there. Excellent. Yeah, no, it's good. Different aspects. Okay, so yeah, any artists on or looking at, you know, creating your own NFT? I know I was at something a few weeks ago and I thought, well, let me take a couple of these pictures. Maybe I have, you know, a unique picture that somebody doesn't have, and I could turn that into an NFT and some crazy person would pay me 10 or 20 bucks for it. So I thought I'd give that a shot, but I actually haven't followed through with it quite yet. I did. Go ahead.
I'd actually love to do it. I've found a site which will allow people to mint NFTs for free.
Oh, okay. What's that site? Let me pull that up for everybody.
Hang on, I will. I gotta.
Or if you want to post it in chat too, I can just copy and paste it.
Yeah, I must find it.
You can mint NFTs at OpenSea, and if you do it on Polygon, they do not charge you. The fees come when you transfer, and the fees come from authenticating your wallet. But after that, you can do it. I've done that. I've made NFTs out of photographs at OpenSea.
Okay. Yeah. And I thought I saw that as well and heard somebody mention that. So is that a fairly straightforward process?
It's not bad. You get your wallet connected and you decide that you're going to create. You go to the create area. You upload the material. That's about it. I mean, it's not challenging. It's very similar to Web 2 activity.
Okay, and then once you do that, there it's and you do that, then it's in their marketplace, and that's the first place it lands.
No, it goes into your collections, and it's something that
Oh.
you have in your collections. And if you choose to offer it to somebody for sale, then it goes on their market.
Okay, and that's where I think I mean, I'm real new to the OpenSea process, but it looks like some of the problems that where people got hacked and that kind of thing is where people had put their NFTs in the marketplace, which obviously means they come out of your wallet, they go into basically the OpenSea smart contract.
No, that is not how it works.
Oh, okay.
The way that it works and the way that they got their NFTs taken from them is this. When you have it in your wallet, you make an authorization for OpenSea to make a transaction in their smart contract for the fee that you have set so that it can be transferred out of your possession. Remember, these things aren't in your wallet. They're on the blockchain. You don't own it in your wallet. So that means it doesn't have to move from your wallet. You control it from your wallet. So you are transferring control of the ability to sell that NFT to a smart contract on OpenSea. And you do this by paying some gas fees and getting it on the smart contract with your authorization. Now, the people that were having problems did not want to pay the gas fee to remove it from the smart contract. So what they did was they moved it from that wallet to another wallet. That does not
Right. Okay,
that
I remember
make
that.
their contract void. It just means that it can't occur because the asset isn't available for the transfer. So somebody can see that when it goes back into the wallet. If there is an existing offer to sell it, you could execute on that offer to sell it because it's back in the wallet. And what happens is that people moved it to another wallet for a few months. The floor price of that NFT went up dramatically, and they didn't remember that they had a lower offer out there. And then they moved it back to the original wallet. Well, as soon as it went back in the original wallet, the contract went active again. And so there are people write bots that look for low prices on valuable NFT assets on OpenSea. And when they find them, they buy them. So it wasn't about them getting scammed. It's about them not wanting to pay the gas to take the sale off of the platform.
Got it. Okay, I do remember that, reading that part of it. Okay, so when you put the thing in the marketplace, that it's there, and then you have to accept. Do you have to accept the offer, or does that happen automatically because it's above your set price?
Yeah, it happens automatically, and they usually go right to your set price. The problem is if it's a Bored Ape and you set it for 5 ETH and the floor on the ape is 90 ETH now, they're buying it for 5 ETH instead of 90 ETH.
And so once they do that they make the purchase, then does it come out, it gets transferred to them right away, or does the seller have to confirm it?
Nope. Ownership is immediately transferred to them because you have provided the smart contract the authority to make the trade for you.
But only for that one NFT, not anything else in your wallet.
For whatever that NFTs or any NFTs that you have put on contract are vulnerable. So unless you remove them from the contract by using a transaction to revoke, you're vulnerable.
Okay, good. Yeah, and again, this is, like Michael was saying, this is just way more complicated, than the regular stuff. So good to know. Yeah, I think I might try that, creating my own NFT from that picture just to go through that process. So you said better to do it on Polygon. Does that matter?
What I was saying was that they now offer Polygon, which has pennies for transaction fees. In the ETH, I think I paid $40 or $50 to authenticate my wallet, because you need a transaction on chain to prove that you are who you are and that you have you have control of the wallet.
Right.
And so I
Absolutely.
did that with an ETH wallet, and then I created some NFTs. and I haven't sold them. I did some transfers where I sold for 0.0001 ETH or something like that. It was like 30 cents to somebody I know, where I made a closed sale where only that person could get it. And the reason I did that was because I wanted them to pay the gas fee. You can actually send them to anybody you want. As long as you want to pay the gas fee, you can do it as a gift. If you want the new owner to pay the gas, then you have to sell it to them.
Okay, so then in essence, they paid the 20 or 30, 40 bucks in gas fees to get that from you.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And as far as the different, I know, the one I have is on Polygon Matic network. Does that make a big difference as far as like some people are only looking for, things on the Ethereum network, or does it really matter?
90% or more of all the NFTs in the ecosystem today are on ETH, and that will change, but the big markets are all ETH. And if you're looking to sell for a profit your artwork, then you probably want to be on ETH. If you're playing around with it and you're trying to learn and you want to give some pictures as NFTs away to friends and stuff, then Polygon's a great way to go, as long as they have a Polygon compatible wallet.
Okay. Okay, good, thanks. And Allegra asked a Polygon, it's polygon.technology. Let me pop that up here. And it's a little confusing because it's Polygon, but the token is Matic, MATIC, because they merged at some point, and so that gets a little confusing. But
yeah,
you can.
It wasn't a merge, it was a rebrand. But yeah, I get what you're saying. They
okay.
actually pivoted.
Okay. Yeah, but it's you can use that your MetaMask just like you can use MetaMask for BNB, that kind of thing. So you just have to add that network.
That's right. You got to add the RPC network.
Yeah. So good. Okay. Well, there was another one. Somebody mentioned Tezos was big on NFTs. Have you seen much on the Tezos network? Yes.
I haven't done anything on Tezos.
Okay. And Z, if you want to jump back in on, you were going to share that link with.
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Anybody else with any questions? I feel like we've talked about a ton of different things in like 4 different directions. Let's see. Cindy, how are you doing? Well, maybe she can't jump in here. Let's see. Larry or Unknown Comic, have we helped at all or just confused things?
No, I think it brings a little more credibility to it. And, as far as critters, I think it really comes down to marketing. I think this type of NFT is slanted more towards younger generations, and maybe through that movie, that could be the catalyst for it. It's still, I think I've got a little bit better idea of it, but it's still, it's really developing a marketing plan for an investment that you are just dipping your toe in.
Okay. And I was exploring a little bit and just learning how OpenSea works. So if you click on the name of like the token or the NFT collection, it will take you to that. They have like a home page, and so here's these Mixed Martial Arts Club, and talks about, okay, they got about 4,000 items or NFTs across 840 owners. Here's the current floor price in Ethereum, even though it's on the Matic network. I don't know if they convert everything or how that works. And then here's a list of all the items. And obviously different people own each of them, but you can click on the activity here and then see the average price and the volume and that kind of thing. So obviously there's only been here's one that sold, there was 2, and here's the average price. Here's one sold, you go another week or day and a half, whatever. And here's one sold. So not a whole lot of activity, but you can see what they're listed at. And obviously when it first came out, you know, I guess some people wanted to get it because they didn't get it at the pre-sale or that kind of thing. But over time here, what are we looking at? 2 weeks later, you know, the price has gone down, you know, a fair amount. And then you can look at, these are the ones that are currently listed for, or no, these were the ones that did sell and they sold from this person to this person. You could always go look on the Explorers, and, you know, when it just shows their wallet address like these two, you could look at the addresses there and see what, you know, they've got other ones or what they might be collecting. So anyway, just kind of interesting. You can kind of look at the stats and that kind of thing on each of them there. Yeah, so Brian asked, is the floor price the asking price? Yeah, so the floor price, from what I understand, is basically just the lowest price for that group of NFTs. Yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, that's same kind of thing. Good.
It's not the lowest price, it's the lowest I can buy now. So there's you have auctions and you have buy now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. So
Good.
an auction goes to whatever the highest bidder is after a certain amount of time, and the buy now is I want that, give it to me.
Right. Right. And but that's kind of deceiving in the sense that each of these are different. And so there might be a collectible one that's at 1 ETH, and there might be, you know, a crappy one that's 0.2 ETH type of thing. And so that number,
you're talking about rarity
yeah,
now. So rarity features vary. And when the floor price is the lowest price that you can buy into the community. So if there's 10,000 of that PFP and the lowest one that you can buy is 0.1 ETH, and where you can buy it now, then the floor price is 0.1 ETH.
Right, right. But it might just that, I mean, we have to remember that they're not all equal. So that doesn't mean, you know, the one that you get for 0.1 versus 0.5, you're not necessarily getting the same thing.
Yeah, rarity makes a difference, and you should be, if you're buying NFTs, you should be knowledgeable about the entire series.
Right, right. Yeah, there's and is there any kind of numbers we can check to see how many different collections there are on OpenSea?
I think there are some stats on their pages you can look at, but there are tens of thousands of projects.
Yeah. Oh, that's
if you go to Explore, it might tell you.
Yeah, all NFTs. Here we go. And all NFTs. I'd be curious, not just the number of total NFTs. Oh yeah, there's 30 million. Okay. Wow. Okay, good. Let's see. I didn't want to leave off. Z, you're still looking for that?
I'm looking for it, but
okay. Any other comments?
You can mint for free, and then you can post it anywhere you choose.
Okay. Okay. And then can you do them on multiple different chains?
I don't know.
Okay. And have you done one of those yourself yet?
No, I have art supplies to buy and whatnot before I will create an NFT for it, because when I do it, it's actually going to be my own art.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. And that makes sense. And that's what, a couple folks on the last month's meeting were talking about. So that's a perfect example of that. So
I'm sorry to interrupt. But what Scott was saying, that somebody can design an NFT for free, but basically getting it on the platform costs a little bit in authentication and proving who you are. Do I understand that correctly?
Right, in terms of Ethereum, but if like you said, that if you did it with Polygon, that was very inexpensive. But the downside there, the folks looking for Polygon NFTs might not, is nowhere near as big as the Ethereum.
Okay.
Is that a good summary, Scott?
Yeah, that works. It's all about market size, right? If you have a really large market of buyers or potential buyers, then you have a better opportunity to have a higher price, because there could be competition for your asset. If you're on the side of the side road down the end of the county and nobody goes down your street, they're not going to go to your store. And that's kind of the concept behind it. You want to be up front center near the highway if you're selling gas.
Right, right. So it looks like just looking at the screen here, there's little purple. Oh, that's Ethereum on Polygon. Okay. And so they're all,
Those are wrapped NFTs.
yeah, yeah. So is there, okay, so these are all auctions. Do they list the auctions and the fixed price ones separately generally?
They'll be mixed in unless you click on a filter. If you click on the
Okay.
buy now filter, you'll see only ones that you can buy for a fixed price now.
Okay, okay. Good. Yeah. So Z, get something going and report to us next month. You know, what you sold or whatever. That'd be curious. But I mean, with 30 million, how do you even some of this is just so goofy. I don't even know where to
You
begin.
must comprehend how to market it.
Yeah.
Well, a ton of this stuff is all about flat 2D imagery, and that stuff is not what's hot. There are a few that are, but what's hot right now is stuff that can be used in the metaverse. So 3D avatars that can walk and articulate are rising in popularity right now and in value because they can become your avatar in a metaverse like Decentraland or the Sandbox or one of these other ones on some of the other chains where that's your representation there now. So you look at these like you see on the screen there, it looks like kind of a wolf and a chef and somebody with it looks like a 3D where he's turning his head a little bit. These kinds of things are relatively flat, if you take that term. Whereas there are a variety of things that are NFTs that don't have anything to do even with imagery. Expect music to be very big in 2022 as NFTs because it enables the creators of the music to be directly connected to their fans and to the money stream that comes from their output.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked a little bit about that earlier. What kind of file format do they use? If it's like you said, one of those that can be used in the game. I mean, we're talking more.
So the metadata gets shared through a variety of sources, some centralized, some decentralized, but the metadata essentially has to be compatible with the game that you want to play in. So let's say you want to be in Decentraland, then the 3D avatar that you pick has to have an implementation in its metadata that allows it to be brought into Decentraland as your avatar. And so you have to know something about the team that's making them and what they're targeting with their avatars or with their NFTs for use. Because if they make it for Sandbox and it's not compatible with Decentraland and you're in Decentraland, you can't use it.
Right, right. Okay. And obviously the ones for the more popular games are going to get more demand because there's a bigger audience for that. So,
well, it's not necessarily made for a specific game. Part of the idea is that the metadata will include the ability to implement your particular NFT in a variety of locations. So it might be that you use a certain amount of the metadata to be in Decentraland, and there's another version of it that's good for Sandbox. And there's another version of it that's good for POXT or one of the other realms.
okay, but they would all still look similar in each of those areas.
Yeah, that would be the idea, is that you're implementing the same imagery or the same concept of your avatar in various metaverse locations.
Okay, yeah, so almost like your personal brand as a player or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. Okay. Gabe mentioned voice.com for free. Okay, we all like free, Gabe, so let's see what we got here. Tell us a little bit about that. Oh, okay, here we go. So we can, you can mint them for free. Crypto optional. What the heck?
Brad, did you talk at all about smart contract implementation and intelligent NFTs?
No. Let me hear from Gabe a little bit on this, and then we can touch on that. It sounds like that might explode our heads, but let's see where we're at on this. Hold on just a second. Gabe, what have you used this site?
No, because I think Steve was talking about for minting NFTs, so I looked it up, and I think this is what he's referring to.
Oh, okay, okay. Or maybe one of them,
Correct.
maybe multiple. Okay, so we'll put this on the list too. So appreciate that. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Scott, on the intelligent. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about it for a second. What is an NFT but an implementation of data on a smart contract, right? This is what it is. And so when you're talking about what it can do, it's limited by the contract that it's under. Now, if you go and mint on a platform like OpenSea, you are minting into their smart contract and into their limitations for what that smart contract can do for you. If you're going and minting your own, where you have a website that you use to interact with the smart contract to allow people to mint their NFT directly out of your collection, then you're not on a platform like OpenSea or Super Rare. You're implementing directly on the blockchain. What this allows you to do is to implement a lot of features in the smart contract. So there are several ways to go about that. And one of those is to use a proxy contract, which allows the updating and the changing of the data. So groups that want to produce an avatar and then add a 3D implementation afterwards, and then add something else afterwards, or a capability to be used as some kind of a gated access token or something like this, that has to be implemented at the smart contract level. And that cannot be done through a standard generic platform like OpenSea. So if you wanted to build a large collection and you wanted to use it in a community where you were sure that you were going to change what it was going to do over time, then it would be smart for you to go to somebody like Manifold and have them develop the smart contract for your needs, so that you have the flexibility to do things that you can't do if you're minting on somebody else's platform.
Okay, and then you would have to offer those NFTs on your own website or platform.
Well, what happens is
supported
the
those.
smart contract for the minting of them happens outside of the scope of somebody like OpenSea, and the ability to change them or to modify the contract specifics is held outside of OpenSea. But that does not mean that you cannot trade them on the platform.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that you would be able to do both. Okay, good.
Yeah. So somebody like Rug Radio, their platform, they did not mint on OpenSea. They minted on their own smart contract that Manifold wrote. And so you went to their minting website at Premint and you minted your NFT, and then it went into your wallet. Well, right after that, they opened up a place on OpenSea where you could buy and sell them.
Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. That's nice that those two are compatible, as opposed to, like we talked about, being the gas station at the end of the deserted street or the billboard in the desert type of thing.
Yeah. So the way that they're compatible is through their ERC implementation. So they're either a 721 or an 1155 in most cases. And those are standards in Ethereum for what you do, what kind of data is stored and how that thing reacts to the blockchain. So if it's an ERC 721 or an ERC 1155, then it is compatible with the platforms for buying and selling at OpenSea and LooksRare and those guys.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And those are probably something that these other chains like Polygon and Tezos are, nowhere near keeping up with. And that's why Ethereum is the dominant player.
Well, the first NFTs, even before NFT was a term, even before ERC 721 was a thing, were on ETH. And so the Ethereum chain has been the OG in the NFT world ever since. And they're the big boy, and they have the most traction, and they have the most crypto natives in the game there.
Right. Well, I mean, they were the grandfather of the smart contract. So basically everything that's related to a smart contract, they've been ahead of the game.
Right, but all the implementations have come from ERC 721 and ERC 1155 in the other platforms. So they're mimicking the capability to collect and store the metadata and the other information that's needed for these specific NFTs is stored in a way that's compatible with those. It's just on a different chain. This is part of why they wrap them and put them on other chains, is they want to have interoperability and they want to be able to hold them in a different place, but they can't because they're ERC tokens, not BEP tokens or Solana tokens or Polygon tokens.
Wait, back up and say it again. Okay, you lost me there for a second. So they can do that in a wrapped environment, or they cannot?
They have to be wrapped in order to leave the chain, their native chain. So when you
Okay.
wrap them, what you're doing is you're putting a container on, so it's an ERC 721, say, and you're going to go to the Binance chain. And when you go to the Binance chain, it's going to be a BEP 721. But the BEP 721 standard is for the Binance chain, and the ERC 721 standard is for the ETH chain, and they're not interoperable because of the specifics of the code. So
Okay.
what happens is they build a wrapper around it. So the data is there. It's just got a different way to interact with holding it. And you can unwrap it, just like when you go to OpenSea and you want to buy, you don't buy with ETH, you buy with wrapped ETH. And that's a whole nother story. But what's happening is essentially you're wrapping the asset for use on another blockchain.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, looks like Unknown Comic had to depart, so good to have him there. There's a few folks that haven't heard from, just wanted to give you guys a chance to ask any questions or make any comments. See Ahmed, Cindy, anybody else, any questions or thoughts here before we wrap up? Always want to give everybody a chance to join in.
When I find the site, I will send it to you.
Okay, or better yet, if you put it in the comments at the bottom on the event page here, you can just, post a comment down here. Anybody and everybody can do that, and we can reply and kind of continue the conversation there as well.
Copy.
Gross. So appreciate that. Larry, I saw you unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just got one question. I purchased, like I said, I'm new in the crypto market and things, got involved, whenever through PTR. But I've got purchased 5 of the mixed martial arts NFTs. How do I get them into my wallet? I mean, they're out. I see them on OpenSea, but is there a process then to transfer them into my wallet?
Well, they're going to be in your wallet. I mean, not,
What kind of wallet are you using?
I've got MetaMask.
And when you click on the NFT tab, you do not see them in the NFT tab?
I have not done that. I will have to look at there's an NFT tab. There's
sometimes
if you go to the main MetaMask screen, when you first open it, about mid-screen, about like belly button higher, a little bit higher, says assets on one side, says NFT on the other. You click on the asset, it shows you tokens. You click on NFT and it shows you NFTs. Your NFTs might already be in there. If they are not, you can import them by going import NFTs at the bottom of that screen under the NFT tab. And that will give you an opportunity to tell it which contract it is and what ID, and it will go search that and find out if it matches your wallet address. If it does, it will add it to your wallet immediately.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Now, I've also got the safe, Sapphire safe. Can those NFTs go into the safe, or will there be can NFTs go into a safe?
Yeah, because the safe is just a wallet that you don't control the private keys to. So you should be able to transfer them into there. I'm still not 100% supportive of the Sapphire safe, just because if the site goes down, you lose control type of thing. But if you wanted to, you should be able to. Well, they'd have to support them to get them out.
I would tell you to be careful about that, because NFTs are not compatible with all wallets, and you're definitely not compatible with something like Coinbase. If you send it to your Coinbase address, you're going to lose it. So you want to be careful about that. Now, and I'll just say about Sapphire is not your keys, not your crypto, and you're giving up keys. So that's not something that the people that are knowledgeable in crypto are doing, and that's not something that they're recommending. So if you're being led down that path for security, you're opening your door to a centralization risk.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
absolutely.
We've talked about that a little bit, Larry, and it's just a wallet address, but you don't control the private keys like you do in Trust Wallet or MetaMask. And so the Sapphire website, that's where your private keys are. And so
So-
it becomes like sending your coins to Binance US or your KuCoin, any other centralized exchange like that. So they're in control of their private keys. Now it's safer because you don't have them and you can't accidentally give them away. You know, like people have, you know, posted their 12-word seed phrase and then they've lost everything. But you're giving up control is the problem.
Okay.
You know, so and like Scott mentioned, if the Safu fight isn't supporting those NFTs, then you could be stuck because they don't have the functionality to send them back to your MetaMask wallet. Is you know, now they theoretically should be adding that, but
I think you
yeah.
got to think about you got to think about how this works a little bit when you're thinking about this Safu fight, because what you're talking about is all of the assets are on the blockchain. All of the assets. Let's be clear about this. All the Bitcoin is on the Bitcoin blockchain. It's not in anybody's wallet. It's not in anybody's computer or phone. It's on the blockchain. And what you have is a secret passphrase that gives you access to control it. So you're giving access control to somebody else. And that somebody else is a centralized organization. So the possibility that you lose it is related to the compromise of the keys or the passphrase that allows the transfer. And you're making yourself farther away from owning your own key is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
If you think of the wallet as more of a keychain and like Scott said, you know, the assets on the blockchain, you know, we're never going to have that physically in our computer or phone or anything like that, but we have the key, you know, to access that asset. And by going to a centralized, we're giving the key to, in this case, Safufied website, you know, and then we have to actually log into it with a different wallet. So it's, yeah, we could talk about more of that down the road or something.
They're doing a weird thing there. Okay. They're doing a weird thing. You're giving it to another wallet that they're holding the keys for you. It's like going to a custodian for your stocks and saying, here, hold this for me.
Yeah. And the authentication to get to it, instead of a username and password, it's the authentication of your existing MetaMask wallet, or whichever one you set up to be like the master to it. So yeah.
So that implementation says if I compromise your wallet, I can go compromise your Safufied.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
That's true too. Yes, you got the double whammy. Now there's a way that you can set up multiple masters, or you have to use 2 of the 3 masters to get to this Safufied.
Like
so in that case, right.
Yeah, multi-sig. Yeah.
But then that becomes more complicated. The problem with it is the people that would benefit from the Safufied are the least able to understand it, you know, which are the newbies that are brand new to this and don't understand what to do, you know, kind of thing. So it's a good idea, but it's also bad.
When you're looking at a computer and you're looking at risk, they call it attack surface. And you try and minimize the attack surface of a computer by limiting how many ways you can get at it. And what you're doing here is you're increasing the attack surface of your assets, because now it's not only your wallet that controls the Safufied wallet that's at risk, it's the Safufied wallet that's at risk. And oh, by the way, if Safufied is centralized and 1,000 people put their key in there for 1,000 different sets of assets, doesn't that make it a more juicy target for somebody who's savvy about how to hack them? And doesn't that provide a Web 2 risk to the Safufied servers that somebody could crack that and then go shopping in there for what they want? That doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, just like people want to go after and hack the centralized exchanges, because that's where all the assets are, you know, as opposed to my individual wallet or your individual wallet kind of thing. So just be careful, Larry.
There aren't too many projects like that. That's Safufied. I've never heard of anybody else doing that, and I'm waiting to hear how. I haven't heard them give a good explanation about how they're securing those assets in a centralized environment. because crypto is not something that if you are not socially engineered, no one has been hacked. No one's Bitcoin has ever been stolen by somebody hacking their wallet. It's always about getting the data from you. And you give it up somehow or another. You give up the passphrase, you sign a smart contract, you do something, and then you lose. The cryptographic technique is pristine at this time. No one has been hacked that way. So as long as you maintain your security and you are the only point of failure, then you are safe. And when you have someone else in the mix, you are increasing your attack surface.
Yeah. So
Very
keep
interesting.
we'll keep an eye on that. But for now, keep them in your MetaMask and just don't give your seed phrase.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it comes down to us. This is the Wild West. We need to be in control, and not do the wrong things and learn, how to protect ourselves, because
You can use a
comes down to
cold
us.
wallet too, right? A hardware wallet as a cold wallet is a good way to store them too. So you could use something like a ledger, and that would be a way for you to store them where authentication has to come from your hard wallet, and your hard wallet's not connected, so there is no authentication to obtain.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's a good way to combine the hard wallet with the MetaMask. You have the function of MetaMask, but the signing and security comes from the cold wallet or the hardware wallet.
Hard
Right.
wallet. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Ledger Nano.
Yeah.
Ledger Nano.
Yeah, I haven't used those things too much, but I saw how that worked with the MetaMask. I'm like, oh, this is brilliant, because so good
Yeah,
call
the
there.
S is for small stuff, and if you're planning on holding a variety of assets, you get an X. It's only a few dollars more.
Okay.
Yeah, good deal.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
That's great information. Thank you.
Good.
No
Good.
worries.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Larry. Anybody else, real quick, before we call it a day or a morning or afternoon, depending where you're at?
Yes, actually, I will share something regarding a hardware wallet I found.
Okay.
Stand by, I'm grabbing it. I had this a moment.
And Gabe, thanks for the post. I'm going to post all these in the Google Doc there. Appreciate it.
Okay, posting this to the chat now. There you go. There are 3 wallets I found.
Okay, let me copy those over there too. All right. Got it. Okay, good. Anybody else?
Some of the new hardware wallets have the appearance of a cell phone, so you can actually scroll through and check everything.
Oh, so their screen is a little bigger than just the 1 or 2 liners.
Take a look at what I sent. It's
Okay.
literally the size of a cell phone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Ledger allows you to use Ledger Live on your PC, and will give you a broad range of access through your PC's interface.
Yeah. Yeah, those are a good way. Good way. Good. Okay, guys, thanks for joining. And be on the lookout. Well, then, the next event is posted. So we'll talk about how to kind of value and evaluate different coins and projects next month. If you guys have any other suggestions for topics, feel free to post them, shoot me an email, text message, phone call, whatever works for you. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, Larry.
Hey, thanks
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.